Amano shrimp are fantastic algae eaters and will put a much bigger dent in algae growth than cherry shrimp will. This, in combination with their interesting personalities and beautiful patterns, make them an awesome addition to virtually any aquarium setup. Let's get into how to keep them. Like other shrimp, Amano shrimp enjoy planted tanks with plenty of spaces to graze and hide. Rocks, driftwood, floating plants, rooted plants, you get the idea. I personally recommend keeping them in at least 10 gallons of water. In some of my more heavily planted tanks, it can be difficult to find my Amano shrimp, which is a good sign that they feel safe and secure. In terms of substrate, I'd recommend just about any inert substrate you can get your hands on. I've had excellent success with sand, but gravel or lava rock or just about anything else will be fine. I warn against using something like fluval stratum though, as it will affect the water's parameters and can lead to a decrease in KH, which will cause pH swings. While we're on the topic of that, it's worth mentioning that Amanos really prefer harder water. I think a GH of at least 5 is a good starting point, but they can live in much harder conditions. They have similar preference as cherry shrimp do for water hardness, which makes keeping them together a breeze. Lastly, let's talk about temperature. I have kept Amano shrimp in heated and unheated tanks, and they did amazingly in both situations. If your tanks stay somewhere in the 65 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit or 18 to 29 Celsius range, your Amano shrimp will do just fine. They aren't as sensitive to temperature as something like a tropical fish would be. Now, Amano shrimp are actually really unique eaters when it comes to aquarium shrimp. They are aggressive, or should I say very aggressive when it comes to food. They are notoriously greedy and will try to hoard as much food as they possibly can for themselves. I have a 20-gallon long with tons of yellow cherry shrimp and 5 Amano shrimp, and I found that the Amanos would steal all the food I put in and then hide with it. To combat this, I have been grinding their food up and sprinkling it throughout the tank. When compared with cherry shrimp, it's night and day how they act when food is added to the tank. It's startling how quickly Amanos will swarm newly added food. With that said, it may come as no surprise that Amano shrimp are very unparticular about what they're eating. They will happily dine on algae, fish food, fish waste, vegetables, shrimp food, algae wafers, powdered food, bloodworms, and just about anything else you can think of. My Amano shrimp eat mostly shrimp pellets and they're very healthy, fast growing, and the females are buried just about all the time. Side note, Amano shrimp will not actually give birth to viable young in fresh water. Their babies need brackish water to survive, and breeding them can be quite difficult without a fair level of expertise. The last thing I want to mention about diet is that your Amano shrimp will likely stop eating algae if they're full on other things like pellets or bloodworms. I'm not suggesting that you starve your shrimp, but if you're feeding them daily or even multiple times a day, you may find that they're not very effective at eating algae. When it comes to toughness, I believe wholeheartedly that Amano shrimp are easily the most hardy aquarium shrimp that I've ever come across. They can tolerate a huge variety of parameters. In my experience, they are much more resilient to things like changing pH or temperature, and things like sudden water changes. About a year ago, I had a tank leaking water, and I had to replace a ton of it after resealing the tank, and every single one of my Amano shrimp were unfazed. So the biggest threat to Amano shrimp are actually something like large fish, or keeping them in a tank without a lid. When it comes to breeding time, Amano shrimp will race around the tank like absolute psychos and are known to launch themselves directly out of the lid. There are no shortage of stories where Amano shrimp will walk up to a few meters away from a tank after jumping out before drying up. I highly recommend that you put a lid on your tanks that contain Amano shrimp. So in just a few minutes, we've covered just about everything you need to know to keep healthy Amano shrimp. If you have any further, more detailed questions or sort of a nuanced question for me, I'm happy to help you down in the comments. Please leave a like if you liked it and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos. Thanks again and happy shrimp keeping.